Hello, everyone, and welcome to Making It on Mondays session. I'm really excited to be here today. It's been a while since I've been on, so I'm super excited to be back on with you guys. We've kind of been missing these sessions as we've only been having them monthly instead of weekly. So, but today we're talking about top tips to get you through the festive season. Now, Making It on Mondays is brought to you by the Acupuncture Pregnancy Clinic, which is an integrative traditional Chinese medicine clinic and acupuncture clinic dedicated to reproductive health, to IVF support, and to pregnancy care. Now, these monthly sessions are designed to help and support those on their fertility journey and are all about empowering women and men who are trying to conceive through providing weekly workshops with relevant and research-based resources. Now, in these monthly sessions, we cover topics such as TCM fertility, nutrition, the latest research and mindset, as well as tips from the experts, both inside and outside of our clinic. Now, today I am your host, and for those of you that don't know me, my name is Louise Jeffrey. I'm a traditional medicine practitioner. I'm an acupuncturist and I'm a coach, and I've been in practice helping couples trying to conceive since 2010. So as I said, today we're talking about the festive season. Now, the festive season is not always an easy time for those of us who are trying to conceive, because whilst this time of year is meant to be fun and festive and all about family and connection, it can also be a reminder that another year has gone by and that we still haven't fallen pregnant. For example, you might be surrounded by friends or relatives that already have a family, or they might have fallen pregnant throughout the year. And so if we haven't been able to fall pregnant this year, what is meant to be a happy, fun, and festive time of year can sometimes leave us feeling rather sad and apprehensive about the festive season. So let's break this down today into a few key topics. We're going to talk about a couple of things, but the first is really dealing with the stress of another year having gone by without us achieving what we ultimately want, which is to start or continue our family. Now, because time is such a factor when we're trying to conceive, we're often left with this feeling or sense of urgency. And this urgency can really leave us feeling a bit panicked that time is running out. And a lot of our patients will say that they feel like the time stress is constantly hanging over their heads. They constantly feel this kind of sense of urgency. And now what we always tell our patients is that there are two things that we need to consider when dealing with difficult emotions that that come with not being able to conceive as easily as we would like. The first is we want to acknowledge the feelings that we have. It's really, really important to really acknowledge what it is that we're feeling. Now, for most of us, it's a natural human reaction to try and push the feelings away because they feel so uncomfortable. I mean, who wants to feel sadness or frustration or grief? Yeah, no one does. But what we have to learn to do here, and this can be applied to all situations we experience in our lives, is to acknowledge our feelings, but not let them define us. And what do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is that we need to allow ourselves to feel what we are feeling by sitting in the emotions for a short while and giving ourselves compassion for those feelings. And then when they don't feel so big anymore, because giving them space actually allows them to be processed and to leave, then we can move on. So once we've acknowledged our feelings and we've allowed them to pass, and when we're ready to, we can then start focusing on what we're going to be doing moving forward. The fertility journey is one of those really difficult ones. And for those of you who have been through or going through IVF, you'll know that this is even more extreme, but we're constantly going through these highs and lows of, trying to remain hopeful. And then, when the period comes again, we've got grief, we've got sadness, we've got frustration, and then we have to pick ourselves up and we've got to move on, right? So, once we've acknowledged our feelings, as I said, we can then start focusing on what we're going to be doing moving forward. So that might be looking at next year, for example, and deciding what we might be doing differently next year to see if that makes a difference to the outcome. So perhaps it would be adding in a new modality like acupuncture, for example, or cutting out caffeine and toxicity in our environment, or maybe it's changing our diet, or asking our fertility specialist about how they might change our IVF protocol. Now, doing this, focusing on a plan while still acknowledging our feelings, helps our mind find the emotional balance that it needs to be present for what is, and at the same time to feel empowered in taking control of what we can influence in our lives, so that we don't feel like we're stuck in limbo or in no man's land. And I think you'll probably agree that the feeling of feeling like we're stuck and we have absolutely no control over what's really going on for us in terms of our fertility or falling pregnant really is one of the hardest places to be. So as we come up to the Christmas period, acknowledging what it is that we're feeling at the time, and then once we've acknowledged that, then having a think about next year too. And what this helps us to do is to just calm the mind and to stabilize us emotionally, as I said. And once we've done this, we can then set the intention to take a break for a few weeks over the festive season and just relax into the present moment, because so many of us don't really get much of an emotional break when we're trying to conceive, or a physical break if we are trying to conceive with IVF. So taking a break over this time can help replenish the body, the mind, and the spirit. Now that you've got yourself set up emotionally for Christmas, another thing we get asked a lot in the clinic is, how do we deal with friends or family around us, right? Who already have a family, who are pregnant, because it can be so triggering of the sadness and grief that we feel inside. So the truth is, we aren't going to be able to get away from having people or situations around us who are triggering. But the best way to handle this is to think ahead. What am I going to do if I notice myself feeling some very strong unwanted emotions? And we all know how best to deal with our own emotions. But a trick that I personally use, if I notice that I'm feeling really emotional, is to gently just excuse myself from the situation and to go and sit quietly in a space somewhere for a few minutes. And it's not always possible to do, but if you can, sometimes if you're even at the office, for example, going and just sitting in the bathroom for a little bit, put my hand on my heart, and I allow myself to just feel compassion for myself. And I honor my feelings just for a few minutes. And then I take a deep breath and walk back out. Now, unfortunately, you may have to deal with people who are insensitive. They might make comments, might ask you if you're pregnant yet, or they might feel like they're being pushy. And if someone makes a hurtful comment, we have to prepare for this too. And people usually don't know how hurtful it is if they suggest an amazing fertility diet, for example, or that you simply just need to relax. They had a friend who, as soon as she started relaxing, she felt pregnant. Just remember that most of the time they're just trying to help. And most of us know this on a conscious level. But it's really important for us to politely and firmly reinforce our boundaries. And remember that we never have to discuss anything that we're not comfortable discussing. And we're well within our rights to make this known, if it feels comfortable to do so. It's always good to really think of how you might answer if someone asks an awkward question. So maybe to think at home, what if somebody asks you a question, how are you actually going to respond to that? So you might rehearse a few lines that you can say if someone inquires about whether you've fallen pregnant yet, or if they inquire about a sensitive topic around your fertility that you don't want to talk about. And if you have a partner, discuss and agree with them what your main message will be to such inquiries, and who may potentially deal with it, whether it's you or him or her. I think the basic rule is to be polite and friendly, but somewhat vague. Take control of the conversation yourself, shut it down if you need to, while still being a bit warm, and then change the subject. And, preparing ourselves in this way, like we would do if we were feeling nervous about a presentation, for example, what it does is it reduces our fear and apprehension and actually allows us to remain calmer and more grounded. Another thing I also find helpful is to enlist the help of one or two supportive people around you, if you can, and let them know upfront that you're feeling a little bit apprehensive and why, and ask them to keep an eye out for you. Now, just knowing that you're not totally alone and that you have support, that can go a long way in keeping those emotions stable. Now, if you've chosen not to drink alcohol or to eat certain things over the festive season, then some thoughts really going to have to go in on how to handle this for you. And given that alcohol and indulgent food is very often included in all the festivities around Christmas time, it's really important to plan ahead and set yourself some goals and to create some structure around eating and drinking so that you don't overextend yourself or put yourself into overly stressful situations. Now, you might decide to relax a little and have one glass of champagne here and there, or enjoy some festive treats on a special occasion, rather than go completely crazy. But I think it's important to be clear up front on what you've decided, rather than just to decide in the moment, because you're far more likely to stick with what you've agreed with yourself, and then you won't feel remorseful afterwards. Another thing that I often speak to my patients about is to challenge our negative thinking. Now, if your thoughts manifest in a negative form, it might be time to learn to challenge this negative thinking. And this was something that once I learned how to do this, it was really, really, really helpful. Watch your inner monologue and be careful of these kind of one-dimensional black and white thoughts that we tend to have. And this is not unique to people who are trying to conceive. This is, is something that every single human being experiences. The more we tell ourselves something, the more we'll think it's true. So it pays to be watchful over what we think. For example, when it comes to fertility, making sure that when we're going into Christmas, we think about, rather than thinking about it's one more year, and I haven't fallen pregnant, we can acknowledge that feeling. Sure, it is one more year and I haven't fallen pregnant, and that feels sad, and it feels frustrating for me, but I have so many other things to be grateful for over Christmas time. So we want to acknowledge the feelings, as I said before, but also to really acknowledge the special moments that we're going to be having throughout the festive season. Hopefully we all do have some special moments that we can be grateful for, and try to live just a little bit in the present moment, because when we are trying to conceive, we're often thinking about the future. We're thinking about, what it is we could be doing, should be doing, where are we going, what's happening on our next cycle. It's quite difficult to be in the present moment. So just starting to challenge any negative thoughts that come in without trying to push them away, acknowledging them, but then reframing them with some more positive ones, and focusing more on the present moment. So that's really it from me. I just wanted to share with you, those few tips around the festive season. Just to summarize, the first one was we want to acknowledge our feelings so they can pass, but not let them define us. Second of all, once we've acknowledged our feelings and allowed them to pass, and when we're ready to, we can start focusing on what we're going to be doing moving forward. So what we're going to be doing for 2024. And this can be really helpful in calming the mind and stabilizing us emotionally. Third, we can give ourselves permission and set the intention to take a break for a few weeks over the festive season. The IVF clinics are closed, and to just try and to relax a little around, around our eating and around our thoughts as well. Fourth thing is to think about how you might answer if somebody asks you an awkward question. So at home, you might rehearse a few lines you can say if someone inquires about a sensitive topic, and be clear on what you will and won't discuss. As I said, to enlist the help of one or two supportive people around you always helps as well. And then to set clear boundaries for yourself ahead of time, and to agree with your partner on what you're going to allow yourself to eat and drink over the festive season, so you're not left feeling remorseful for overindulging. And then last of all, just to challenge your negative thinking patterns, to acknowledge your feelings, but to reframe them with more positive ones. So that's it for now. I hope this has been helpful. Wishing you all a happy and fun festive season for 2023, and hoping that all of you achieve what it is that you want in 2024. I am sending you all great support. If there's any questions you have, please feel free to post them in the comments box, or to send us a message to the admins of the group, and we can answer any of those questions for you. Signing off now. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye.